Good evening. Welcome to Good Work Now. Today we're going to talk about the new purchasing. And think about it with your own company or your own business practices. Where is purchasing in your organization? Sometimes it's buried somewhere in some other department like finance or maybe manufacturing or operations. And think about it if you ever went to business school or think about the MBA programs. Purchasing is sometimes embedded in some economics class or maybe it's part of a finance class, but you never see purchasing in and of itself as a standalone career, course, function, or department in an organization. And given what we're going through right now with trying to be as savvy as we can with our finances, it seems to me that there's a need to think about this whole thing called purchasing. So we're calling the show The New Purchasing. And I'm very pleased to welcome to our show Omid Gamami, and he has done some very innovative work with this area of purchasing. He has 15 years of Fortune 50 experience as a senior manager with broad experience in purchasing operations management. He is also adjunct professor at Folsom Lake College, where he has pioneered an innovative purchasing management program, the first of its kind in California. He is also the president and chief consultant at Purchasing Advantage, a purchasing corporate training and solutions provider. And Omid, thanks so much for stopping by today on
Thank you
Good
so
Work
much
Now.
for having me, Brian. I appreciate it.
And this, some folks might think, oh, purchasing, how boring is that? But this is, I think, I'm not a purchasing person, but I think this is very exciting that you're onto something very unique here. And I think this is very timely that all of us think about, not just for our own personal purchasing power and savvy, but also business-wise. And so today we're going to talk about this thing, this new purchasing, and why it's important as a potential new career, and how it can help your business, and how it can help you personally. And let's start with the first question. What are your thoughts about purchasing? Let's start there.
And what is purchasing? So, purchasing is really about the acquisition of goods and services at the lowest total cost for an organization.
Okay.
And it's really important to understand this concept of lowest total cost. It's very different than acquisition price. If you've ever bought a car and noticed that the landed cost or the total cost of owning that car was very different than what the acquisition price was, that gives you an idea for total cost. When we have purchasing within an organization, traditionally it used to be purchasing clerks, so people who had less experience, less education, who were simply placing purchasing orders, and that's really changed. And now what we're looking at is looking at what the demand is within our organization for what sorts of different things, aggregating that demand into commodity areas like site services, construction, information technology, consulting, and this can add up to millions of dollars in major organizations, firms, and agencies. Then having buyers who are very focused in those areas, or commodity managers who are very focused in those areas, understand the industry as well as the suppliers, are able to identify the right suppliers, take that demand and identify the right suppliers, be able to put contracts in place, do the cost analysis on that, recognize both the business and legal risks, put those contracts in place, execute towards the lowest total cost for the organization, maximize the company's profit, and really focus on then managing those suppliers to ensure on a continuing basis we maintain the lowest total cost advantage to the company. And corporations are just now starting to recognize this business advantage by really driving and investing in purchasing.
So clearly this notion of purchasing is becoming more of a strategic function in an organization or a business.
Absolutely.
Speak more about what your thoughts are about how this is a strategic function.
Well, these things are really going to change, and the internet and computers are enabling that as well. Whereas before in the past, the mantra was purchasing is going to place the order. Then it went to purchasing is going to help us lower the price. Then it went to purchasing is going to help us reduce total cost. Now, the new mantra is about supply chain management. And what that really refers to is looking down not only at your supplier, but their suppliers, and then looking not just at your customer, but their customers, and looking at that entire chain.
Oh, that's what that is.
And
Okay.
absolutely. And if we can establish, and very few companies have done this well, but we're on the road, if we can establish a glass pipeline of information on inventory, on demand, on capacity, on all sorts of things like that, lead time, on cost. And if instead of going to a supplier and saying, give me a better price, if we can look at this supply chain and work with all the partners and find inefficiencies in the chain and find costs that we can take out of the chain that shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody loses in that
What is
transaction.
the forecast for purchasing careers and jobs? And as I mentioned at the opening, purchasing has been this collateral function of maybe business analysts or financial analysts or program analysts, but you don't see purchasing typically as a career, as a major or a minor in academic environments. So what are your thoughts about where that's going?
Okay, so absolutely, we need more visibility. We need people to get excited about purchasing as a discipline, and we need academia to support us better.
Mm-hmm.
Major corporations do have purchasing departments, but typically they're hidden underneath finance, underneath operations, underneath manufacturing. I think someday we will have chief purchasing officers in organizations. That's part of the Holy Grail. As far as in terms of what the forecast is, if you look at our Sacramento County and the 3 local counties adjacent to us, the EDD is forecasting about 1,017 jobs over the next 10 years. That includes new and replacement jobs. That ranges from things like a purchasing clerk where you have little experience, it's on-the-job training where you can expect to make about $34,000, that's an average figure, up to purchasing managers where you would expect to have a degree in business or a related degree, as well as some experience in purchasing, and on average they make about $81,000. So certainly the opportunity is there, and I think because it's a recession, companies are investing in this, and they recognize that we cannot afford to overlook purchasing. We're not going to. Sure, we have to cut in many areas, and purchasing may get some cuts, but we can't afford to cut them too deeply because they are going to be our lifeblood. It's not just looking at marketing to help us generate revenue and looking at accounting to help us count the revenue. We need somebody to help maximize the profit, and purchasing is there to help us do that. I've developed an 18-unit purchasing certificate program for the Folsom Lake College. And pending budgetary situations, that will be launched in fall 2010. Wow. So we're very excited about that. And anybody who takes that series of 5 courses, I feel, will be very well suited to land in a field of purchasing, and will have more preparation than anybody I've ever met coming out of college, in my opinion.
What thoughts do you have about how we can be more savvy with our own personal purchasing power and our own family or household financial management?
Sure. I think being experienced in purchasing, having gone through the experience of knowing how to manage total cost, how to calculate and do cost analysis, knowing how to do negotiations, knowing how to achieve your negotiation objective while leaving the other person feeling good about it, are some very, very powerful skills.
Thanks so much for coming on the show,
My
Omid.
pleasure. My pleasure.
And let me go ahead and provide you with some information if you would like to learn more about Omid and the personal crusade he's on with purchasing, which I think you're onto something here, I really do. His website is purchasingadvantage.com, and his email address is omid@purchasingadvantage.com. And again, if you want to contact me, I'm at brianmoffett@comcast.net, and our website is goodworknow.com. And I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody in Sacramento for watching Good Work Now. I'm going to be relocating to the Gulf Coast, Florida area in a couple of months and producing Good Work Now from that location, but we are still going to be airing Good Work Now from this area. So we'll continue to have shows. They'll just be taped at the other side of the United States. So next time you see me, I'll be taping from the Gulf Coast area. Thank you so much for your continued viewership of our show. And until next time, keep up the good work.